Oh, sorry. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to UFC Round-Up. I'm Paul Felder. He's Michael Chiesa. This weekend, we had UFC 275. And more importantly, guys, I just want to congratulate Michael Chiesa. He's still married. His wife has not left him. Look at that. Congratulations yet again, Michael. Here you are, still a married man. You didn't blow it yet.
Still in the mix, dude. It was good. I'm surprised. I'm surprised she didn't, make me sleep outside after the old tournament me and the boys had this weekend. I won my first golf tournament. It was the Rainier Classic put on by the Great Pacific Northwest. So with it being the Rainier Classic, the Rainier Invitation, we drank a lot of Rainiers. We had a good time, and Paul, while I was out having fun with my recreational hobbies, you looked absolutely miserable. I was scouring social media this morning, and the pictures from you at your race this last weekend looked like you. I mean, you love this stuff, but you look absolutely miserable, Paul. Like, give us a little recap.
I love every second of that misery. It's one of those things, just like weight cutting, Michael. Our memory for weight cuts were always short-lived, right? Oh, yeah. It would be the worst experience that you ever had in the world. And then a few months later, you book another fight. You're like, I'm going to stay in the same weight class. It takes you a long time to learn. And it's that same feeling, man. You're hurting. Every ounce of your body is just suffering. You're dehydrated. Your heart rate is through the roof, but just something about chasing people down, trying to get in the lead. And it went really well. This is a really, really challenging race, the Pocono Triathlon Festival in the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania. Lots of climbing on the bike, beautiful lake Wallenpaupack swim, but the bike and the run are just completely hilly. And I had the fourth fastest bike split of the day, and I came in fifth place overall out of 150 people that competed in the long course. And I won my age group for the first time. That's been a goal of mine, right? To win on a smaller event and check that box off. Now it's keep getting better and hopefully win one of these bigger Ironman or Clash or PTO events coming up.
I think we need to get Roundup to sponsor your riding attire, because you get these triathlete suits.
Hell yeah.
I think at UFC Roundup sponsorship, I might have to reach out to Zach and maybe have a little conversation.
I'm seeking triathlon sponsors, please. Anybody sees UFC Roundup, feel free to hit me up and send me money or a free product. That's all welcome. But hey, that was all fun. We had fun. You had an awesome golf tournament. I had an awesome race, but there were some amazing fights and some craziness that happened. We were wrong pretty much across the board when it comes to how things were going to go, other than Valentina by decision. I think we both said by decision, but not the fight that we were necessarily talking about. We're going to get into that, but we got to talk about possibly one of the greatest light heavyweight title defenses / fights that we've ever seen. It changed hands. Jiri Prochazka is now the champion, and he got the finish by submission.
God.
I mean, I was predicting that he was going to finish Glover early in the fight by knockout if it was going to be a finish. And here he gets a rear naked choke in the final round in a fight that was back and forth. Both guys' faces absolutely battered. 42-year-old Teixeira, man, just showing that he has still got it. The man could have won that fight. Things didn't go his way. I think a rematch is in order. Who doesn't want to see those guys go again? What were your thoughts on the fight? Is it what you expected whatsoever? I mean, were you surprised? What was your favorite part? I got so many questions. Just talk about that fight a little bit.
Man, it really did not go how I expected. I mean, obviously you won, Paul, with the pick. You picked Prochazka, but, I picked Teixeira by later submission, and it was Jiri who not only got the late submission, it's the second latest submission in UFC title fight history, first being Demetrius Johnson versus Horiguchi, I believe. But second latest submission or second latest finish in a UFC title fight. Just an impressive statistic to have. And just 3 fights into his UFC career, he captures the light heavyweight title. And for any of you that haven't seen the video of Jiri going back home to the Czech Republic, I mean, he had 7,000 people, show up for this huge celebration for him to bring home the title. And while it was a really fun fight, Paul, I don't want to be too critical, but sometimes I feel like that is part of my job, that I got to come out here and I got to shoot the fans straight.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it was the best display from both guys. I feel like, for Jiri, I don't feel like he's kind of a wild man. He kind of goes out there, and I don't really think there's always a method to his madness. He keeps getting taken down when he's throwing that flying knee, and Glover, for a guy who's he hit this resurgence he's had that's got him to the championship, it was all about that heavy grappling. Like he would take guys down. They weren't getting back up. He was getting submissions, and he found himself getting out of positions, and Jiri getting back up. And got to give some credit to Jiri. I think he trained, like, especially in the 4th round, that arm triangle escape he hit. I'm sure everybody is in jiu-jitsu class trying to hit that move. There's a lot of things they did right, but I feel like in a title fight, the margin for error is so small. And without thinking too far ahead, and as much as we'd like to see that fight happen again, Paul, I'm thinking neither of these guys could go out and fight an Anthony Smith or a Magomed Ankalaev the way that they fought this last weekend. So for both guys, what a fun fight it was. It got fight of the night. It was so exciting, but I just don't think you can do that every time you go out there and compete against the best guys in the world. The margin for error should be very small, and both of those guys got away with a lot of errors.
I agree with you there that it was a bit sloppy, right? I think Jiri was the first to really criticize himself on that he said, this is what the fans want, this is what the media wants because it's fun, it's action, it's a quote war. But it's not what he wanted. He wants a cleaner fight. He wants to get these finishes earlier in this fight. He doesn't want to get his face peeled open and be battered like that. And obviously for Teixeira, you got the guy as hurt as much as he did in that final round, and you jump guillotine. But for all the people, it's so easy for us to be the critics sitting on the outside. Hindsight's always 20/20, right? You've got to imagine for a jiu-jitsu guy like Glover, when you're in that moment, you rock him, his neck is right there. It's probably just pure instincts that he's going to want to go for that guillotine, and he just slipped out. Both guys are sweaty. I'm sure he's still thinking about that today. What's today? Tuesday. He's going to be sitting there, kicking himself for that one and not maybe trying to get on top or get it a takedown and ground and pound. But it was fun, right? I agree that both these guys are going to struggle if they don't sharpen things up later in their careers, but not later in the career for Glover. I mean, he is 42 years old. That's not usually what we see from him, but Jiri does that to guys, Michael. I think it's more Prochazka and his style. Even when, DC and Bisping are talking about how exhausted he looks, but then he throws off like a 7-piece punch combo. He's just one of those awkward guys that's hard to really pin down and get the timing for. Do you think that's part of it? I mean, I don't think
I definitely do. Oh, yeah, for sure. My critique has nothing to do. Like a lot of people were probably quick to jump on Jiri, but like his hands are down and things like that. Like, look, this is mixed martial arts. You don't have to have your hands here the whole time. He's made a career fighting the way that he has, and he's a really hard guy to train for. All the little subtle movements he does, his hands down. He does this weird thing where he'll be touching his shoulders, kind of moving his head. He does a lot of awkward things. Those little movements you have to acknowledge because you don't know what's coming thereafter. That's what makes Jiri so exciting is he's so unpredictable. While his hands are down, that right hand might come from his hip, but you have to acknowledge any type of motion that he's doing with his hands, any type of feint that he's throwing, and that's exhausting when you have to be so reactive to a guy standing in front of you that possesses the power that he does. You have to acknowledge every movement that he makes. And, when I look into the crystal ball of matchmaking, while we're always quick to jump on immediate rematches because fights are so fun, part of me wants to say it should be Glover next because we're only going to have Glover for so much longer. I mean, it's when a fighter or any athlete for that matter gets to the twilight years of their career, they're really on borrowed time. I mean, Glover has surpassed what is the normal threshold for the age of a fighter, and he's still performing very well. While I am critical of some of the errors he made, he didn't really fight like an old guy. He still fought just as good as he has. It's just Jiri drew out the mistakes from him and vice versa. But I would like to see whoever wins the Magomed Ankalaev Anthony Smith fight move on and move up. I know Jan Blachowicz was in attendance. Jan versus Jiri would be a lot of fun. They got the Poland versus the Czech Republic thing. I think that'd be a blast. But I'd like to see what happens with Magomed Ankalaev and Anthony Smith and see the winner of that fight move on to fight the light heavyweight champion, Jiri Prochazka.
So, okay, I can get down with that. So let's say just hypothetically, and again, you're right. We're so quick and it probably could happen, a rematch, but let's say, let's talk new blood. So let's say Ankalaev and Smith, they fight. The winner of that challenges Jiri. Glover and Jan maybe fight. Maybe. We kind of see who's next because that's still a huge fight for somebody like Teixeira. Who fighting a guy who is also just a champ. Oh no, I mean that doesn't really make much sense either. But I like that Ankalaev Smith thing, or a rematch. I think is the way that you got to go right now, because
or another fun one. Hey, here's another fun one for Glover. I mean, Jamal Hill, as much as he does not like me because I picked against him on a pre-fight show one time, I'm going to give him some credit. If Jamal Hill can go out there and get past Thiago Santos, give him a shot at the former lightweight champ. I mean, if he can go out there and put it on Santos, that's a huge feather in his cap. Give him a shot against the light heavyweight champ. He's buzzing through the rankings right now, and he's got a main event.
Say, what's his record in his last 5 fights? I think he's only got one loss in there to Paul Craig, right?
Yeah, Paul Craig. Yeah, and he's rolling now. He's rolling, and he's got that main event August 6th. So I think that if he can go win a second consecutive main event, there's no reason why he can't get in there and fight a guy that's held the world championship. So I think
not to mention that his social media has been pretty hilarious recently, as far as the different celebrations, the different face-offs, and all that stuff. So if you haven't seen Jamal Hill do a cast of different characters and how different fighters kind of enter the cage or celebrate a win or do all that, it's pretty hilarious. And we got to move on to another title fight that happened at UFC 275, and Valentina and Taila Santos. Very, very competitive fight. And finally, we see somebody really bring it to the champion. Now, she retained her belt, but a lot of people out there, and dare I say, probably even us, are going to argue that maybe this could have gone the other way. Michael, I'll let you start first. But either way, competitive fight. Valentina definitely had her moments. She definitely, in my opinion, won rounds 4 and 5. That's not in question to me. What's in question is those first 3 rounds. Did Santos win all 3 of those? In my opinion, I just watched it the other day. Man, I had her up 3 rounds.
Yeah, the old saying goes, and we hear this all the time in a fight like this: be the champ, you got to beat the champ. And I do think that bears some weight. I think that that's a very valid statement. But in this fight, I watched the champ get beat. Yeah. I watched, not only did she look beatable, I watched her get beat. I watched her rounds 2 and 3 were clear-cut losses. Here we go again. I'm going to get butchered in the comments section because I got to be critical here. Valentina Shevchenko, she didn't look – it's not that she looked human for any other reason besides the fact she made a lot of mistakes. And this is kind of the same – almost the same narrative with the main event. Every time she threw the lead hook, and they're fighting in opposite stances, righty versus southpaw. Every time she threw the lead right hook, Talia's crashing in on it, getting to the clinch. Talia keeps beating the corner and getting these takedowns. And like you said, when we were kind of previewing the show, Valentina was accepting positions. There wasn't a ton of urgency for her to get back to her feet. She lost all 3 rounds. Yeah. And if they stopped the fight, that was a bad headbutt in round 4, and that changed the momentum through 4 and 5. Now, this is an interesting thing, and I got to give credit to Aaron Braunstetter. I saw this on his Twitter account. If they would have stopped the fight due to an accidental headbutt in round 4, it would have been a split draw. So if a lot of people are saying they should have, they should have stopped the fight after the head because it was that bad, well, then it would have been a split draw. Do I think they should have stopped the fight? Not necessarily, but it was a close fight. I don't think it should have been that close in the judges' scorecards. I think it should have been 3-2 Taila Santos.
Yeah, I was just same as you. I was kind of surprised that the champion Shevchenko kept crashing in the way she did, but she was having the most success when she was out at range, using that front kick, the leg kick. She was going upstairs with that left high kick. The straight punches down the middle were really being effective for her. But every time she overloaded or tried to rush in with that left hook, Santos was coming in and she was accepting it, like we talked about before the show, Michael, with the judo throws, trying to get the headlock and go with the hip toss. You're facing too good of a grappler to try to do that, right? She's going to be able to take your back. She's going to be able to ride with the momentum, even if you do get that judo throw. And she was showing that Santos was showing the skills to, even if she was on bottom, she was going to find a way to scramble and get to a better position. I was just really impressed with the strength, the IQ of her in that fight, her composure, even with her eye being as damaged as it was. I think it was in the 4th round we talked about.
Yeah,
still
got a takedown.
That's impressive, man. I really feel I don't want to say I discounted her and I discredited her coming into this fight, but the way that Valentina has just been looking in the last several years, I thought she was going to be dominant. That was not the case. I think the Glover fight, we want to see maybe a rematch. This one, I feel like we have to see a rematch once her eye is healed up.
It was too close. You got to run this one back. And I'll admit it, Paul. I discounted her. I just got to be honest with everybody watching. Like I did not give Taila Santos a chance. I thought that it was going to be one-way traffic for Valentina. She's just going to kind of dictate where the fight goes. I thought she'd be the one getting the takedowns. I thought she would maybe get in some dominant positions on the ground, just like she did again, against it was Katlyn Chookagian that she crucifixed in TKO. So I'm thinking she's going to just mix it all up and make it look pretty. But we got to see this fight happen again. We got to see this fight happen again for a lot of reasons. I think that I believe Santos won the fight. 2, I think the headbutt really kind of changed. Really, that created a big momentum shift in the fight. I would like to see this fight happen again. I think it has to happen again. The only fight I think that could maybe leapfrog them, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like this. If Miesha Tate can go out there at UFC 276 and put it on Lauren Murphy, do it well, I think Miesha could leapfrog herself into a title fight because she is Miesha Tate. She is the former bantamweight champion. She is the former Strikeforce champion. And you put Miesha Tate at the top of a bill, people are going to tune in. So outside of that, I think you got to do this rematch.
Yeah, and I think of course, and I think Miesha would agree with this. I think it depends on how she looks. Like you said, if she goes out there and it's like, holy crap, wow, this weight drop, she looks fantastic. She's a huge name. She's a star. She sells pay-per-views. It's all, lines things up. Plus, we've got to wait and see. I mean, that was a pretty bad orbital break for Taila Santos. I think she.
Did they confirm it was an orbital break?
Oh yeah, it was a broken orbital. I think she went into surgery over in Singapore, I believe, or at least needed surgery. I'm not sure. We'll have to follow up and see. But those things can take time. That means it's going to be quite an extensive period of time. If she has to have plates put in, they're going to have to monitor the eye and make sure things don't get droopy. You can even probably tell, unfortunately, on Round-Up, guys. If you ever notice, one of my eyes will get a little. It'll get a little lazy.
I've actually never noticed it. I've never noticed it.
Sometimes if I look certain ways, it'll almost look like I'm drifting. So that I'm not high or anything over here, guys. It's just the drifty eye. So orbital breaks, man, that could take a while. So if that's the case, then I think that makes complete sense to kind of see who the winner of that is and maybe usher them in. But we got to talk to spinning back fists, man. We got to talk. The great Joanna Jedrzejczyk is retired. Sad to see. She's just possibly the greatest strawweight in UFC history. Such a dominant champion for so many years. Such a fun personality in the sport. Always brought it to the press conferences, and more importantly, always brought it in the fight. And she was bringing it in that fight, man. They were starting to exchange when they were on the feet and letting it rip, but Zhang Weili, however we're saying it, she's just so damn well-rounded now, man. I mean, that wrestling now, she has really added that to her game.
Yeah,
it's a game changer, Michael.
There you are. You froze a little bit. Yeah, with Zhang Weili, ever since she's started going to fight ready, I feel like she's rounded her game off with the wrestling. She's already been such a physical fighter. Her physical presence, you could tell she's big for the weight class. She's very fit. She's always had the striking, and the wrestling was on display early against Joanna, but man, I think we both hit the nail on the head when it came to the ring wrestling. Joanna did not show any ring rust. She looked fast. She was piecing her combinations together. And she looked, I think the only thing that kind of rattled her early on was the wrestling. I think that she was kind of expecting they're going to go toe-to-toe round
and the
6.
Ground and pound.
Yeah, the ground and pound. And she showed for a woman in Joanna, and it's a thing we hear a lot of fighting, Paul, is when fighters start to make a lot of money, maybe lose 1 or 2 here and there, they kind of lose the fire. They don't want to kind of go through they don't want to have to get in the trenches in a fight to pull off the win. And Joanna, for a fighter who's had as many title fights as she's had and is, she's probably very financially stable at the moment, to absorb the ground and pound, get back to her feet and get back in the fight. You don't see that from a lot of fighters that are in a good position and have taken the time off. So she showed she still has the fire. But unfortunately, Zhang Weili, she extinguished it, and that was a beautifully set up spinning back fist. I think in between rounds, there had to have been something that her coaches said, because it was a box and wrestle heavy approach in round 1. And then round 2, it was like, I'm just going to keep this girl off me. She was throwing a lot of side kicks. There was a lot of push kicks, a lot of round kicks, just everything. She threw everything with her lower extremities to keep Joanna away from her. And there's no better segue to set up a spinning back fist than that little side kick, because you get your shoulders perpendicular to your opponent, and you can just spin through it. I'm not the best striking master, obviously, Paul, but you know what I'm talking about. But yeah. I mean, Zhang Weili set that up perfectly. She kept throwing that side kick, and once Joanna crashed the space, she just spun through it and caught her. And the risky thing is that when I watched the replay, I was surprised. I feel like if she would have landed that a little deeper, I feel like she could have hurt her arm, because when I saw it land, it was like she landed like you usually want to land with the fist, like the end of the club. It was like she hit it with the whole stick. Like, it's like you don't want to do. That's not how you throw a spinning back fist. She's lucky she didn't break her arm, but little risk, little reward paid off for her. That was a beautiful finish from Zhang Weili.
Yeah, it's like in baseball, right? I mean, you swing, if you hit it too low or too in the middle and not towards the end of the bat, you'll break the bat. Well, that's exactly what happens with that spinning back fist, and that's exactly why I don't know if we can see it, but I have a nice scar down the forearm here because of it.
How many stitches was that?
I don't even know, man. It was just, it looked like, the side of a pig got stitched up. But yeah, if you hit it in the wrong spot, you'll just snap your forearm, especially if it's a guy like Mike Perry, whose head seems to have been made out of steel when I hit it. Yeah. But yeah, it was very impressive, man. I think that she's probably going to be our next champion, if I had to say. I think the way she fought, the way that she looked on Saturday night, now with that confidence behind her, having a big finish over somebody like Joanna, especially having had that first fight go the way that it did, very close, very competitive, both battered up, and then to come out of it on the other side like she did in this one, I think we're looking at the future champ again.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Zhang Weili's kind of allotted herself back into a title fight with Carla Esparza. And Zhang Weili had a date set in mind, but Carla Esparza is like, I'm the champ. You're waiting on me.
I'll pick the date.
Exactly. And when it comes to Joanna, obviously it's retirement for her. I don't see her coming back. And when you talk about Joanna's legacy, we use this like we always like to talk about the Mount Rushmore of MMA. And undoubtedly, unquestionably, when you talk about the Mount Rushmore of women's MMA, Joanna is firmly top of that list. She put the strawweight division on the map. She drew a lot of attention to her. Like you said earlier, her press conferences were great, and her fights were even better. And obviously, she's going to be so missed in the mixed martial arts community. She was, aside from Juliana Pena and Miesha Tate, Joanna was one of my favorite female fighters. And it was a pleasure to watch her compete. It was a pleasure to watch her pave the way for the smaller weight classes in the UFC. And I wish her nothing but the best, man. And even though things didn't go her way, we still saw glimpses of what made her so great in that fight. And those are something that we have to cherish. You don't, it's a brutal sport we live in. You don't always get to leave. You don't always get to ride off into the sunset on a win. But, she went out there. She competed for the fans one more time. And she has nothing to hold her head down about. She should hold her head high, and she should be very proud of herself for everything she accomplished in her career.
Oh man, yeah, she's an absolute legend and one of my favorite fighters to watch, especially with just the crispness of her striking. She's also one of my favorite fighters to ever watch hit pads and train, and just the ferocity that she brought to the gym and every workout that she did. And I also really appreciate how she spoke about the company and everybody that's behind the scenes and the whole operation of the UFC, right? You can tell that she's been around this company and she has been fully invested in the UFC as well as she is, because to thank everybody, to acknowledge that, it just shows what kind of person you are as well, right? Because we know it. There's a lot of moving parts to this crazy circus traveling show that we're all a part of. And
that's facts.
And she's a sweetheart at, deep down. She's a savage in that octagon, but a very nice human being. And again, wish her nothing but the best. And if she ever wants to come on UFC Round-Up,
we would love to have her.
Book it.
Come on over.
Who doesn't want to see that?
Yeah.
We get a third window over here, and we can have Joanna Felder.
Yeah, Richie, bring her on, dude. Come on, Rich.
You know how many more followers we would get and how many more subscribers? Come on.
Blow up.
Move over to
DC and RC. If we get Joanna, it's a set deal.
Richie's on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, real quick, man, such a good 275 was so good, but we got to talk about this weekend coming up too. Josh Emmett, Calvin Kattar, they're going to throw down, I believe, in Texas.
Striker's delight.
unbelievable, dude. That's one of those fights that it's going to be all over the place. You're going to see some takedowns, I guess, from Emmett. You're going to see some Muay Thai and elbows coming out of Cater, and just powerful punches from Josh Emmett. Do not miss this weekend's main event. It's going to be a doozy.
Not to mention, we also got Cowboy Cerrone, Joe Lozon in the co-main event. Two legends of their own right. And then I think the co-main event, the feature bout, is Kevin Hall and Tim Means. That'll be a fun fight too. So it's going to be popping off in Austin. Are you working, Paul? You working?
I'm not. I'm off this. I have my cousin Corey's wedding this weekend. My cousin is getting married. So I'll be having a good time with the family.
There you go.
You know,
eat some cake.
The Means side of the family is it's going to be fun, baby. It's my cousin, first cousin. And so my Uncle Mike's going to be there yelling Grace Ferry in the house the whole time. It's his daughter getting married. So it should be a good time.
Hey, Uncle Mike's are always a good time. Uncle Mike's are always a good time.
Uncle Mike, yeah. All the uncles. There's many characters that will be at this wedding, and they're all glorious in their own ways. We're going to do our 5 rounds, Michael. They're a little different this week. We're going to do some comments / questions, and then we'll just kind of riff off of what these awesome people said. Cool. Teleport De Niro says, I'm glad John Jones isn't being a squatter and cherry picking the light heavyweight division anymore. Yeah, things are moving now and changing hands and possible rematches and new blood in the division. What do you think about that? You glad that it is going back and forth like this? Because, I mean, John was also, first of all, I don't know if he was cherry picking anything.
Yeah, I was going to say cherry picking is the absolute last thing. John Jones, the guy fought Machida, Vitor Belfort, Gustafson twice. He fought everybody. He fought DC twice. The guy did not cherry. He didn't cherry pick. He just chopped down the whole tree. I mean, let's just call. I got the stats right here. There's been 9 different light heavyweight champs there's been 3 different light heavyweight champs in the last 9 months. John Jones ruled the division for 9 years. So cherry picking is not the right analogy, but it is nice to see some movement, and it would be nice to see John Jones come back at some point, whether it's heavyweight, light heavyweight. Bones Jones needs to make his way back to the octagon soon. But yeah, I mean, it makes it exciting when the title's changing hands. And we see movement. It keeps the division really circulating. So there's pros and cons to it.
It's always good. It's always good for the athletes, I feel, because when the belt is exchanging and things are moving, that means that the contenders are continuously getting a shot at the belt. When somebody reigns for so long, that guy that loses the belt is still going to be number 1, number 2. Well, now we got to start going down the list. So that's not cherry picking. That's taking out one by one the entire division, where you get to a point where you're redoing somebody, like somebody else is coming back in again. Some people got to lose twice. Then some people got to sit around in that division and they'll never get another shot because they've already lost twice. Anyway, that's a good comment, but I think you're wrong in the cherry picking aspect.
Yeah, that's not good.
Next one. Do you think that Uriah Hall could have been champion? And just so everybody knows that at UFC 276, he is taking on Andre Muniz. I'm confused a little bit by this. I mean, could he have been champ? Yeah, he could have been champ, but he never really seems to have put it together. The guy has always had the skills. He's always been super dangerous, but just the big fight would always come up and something would kind of happen, or mentally, I feel like he would have a block. But I think as far as skill for skill, he was always super dangerous. What do you think?
I'm the type of guy where anything can happen in this crazy sport.
Yeah.
Uriah Hall still has tread left on his tires. There's still a lot of fight left in him. He's competing at UFC 276 against a super tough up-and-comer. Anything can happen. Not everybody, Michael Bisping, not everybody can beat Glover Teixeira, but his history has shown for some guys, age is just a number. And, Uriah's never shown for him. It's always been speed. He's a fast guy. We haven't seen him lose his speed yet. I still think the talent's there. Anything can happen. So I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say it's impossible for him to become champ. The odds get a little slimmer and more stacked against you the older. I mean, there's still a lot of fight left in that man. So I believe in Uriah Hall.
Yeah, I think it's more just Uriah Hall's own mind that he's got to believe in himself, because the skills are there. The guy's super scary. Let's move on. Live bad. Valentina is so well balanced and composed. She's the best female fighter in the world. Nunes, since having a kid, has lost her edge. This fight has to happen again soon. It would be incredible. Well, first of all, I do agree that it would be incredible. And as far as having the child and losing the edge, I don't know about that. I think we'll see when this rematch comes about on where she's at with that, because you can't lose one fight and we start talking you don't have the edge anymore. I mean, sometimes you're just beaten. I mean, I don't think that means that you lost your edge. And I, as much as I would love to see that fight again, I think that Valentina fight is going to be whoever wins this fight. We get to see it again, because it goes both ways. It's a rematch either way with whoever wins, with Nunes and your girl.
Yeah, and I'm not that interested in a Nunes Valentina trilogy fight. I mean, it doesn't intrigue me at all. Valentina lost in 2017 via split decision. I just don't. For me, I don't think Amanda Nunes lost the fire. I think she just went up against a super tough competitor, Juliana Pena, Juliana has been watching Amanda Nunes ever since Amanda Nunes lost to Kat Zingano. It's like she had her picture of Amanda Nunes on her mirror, and she's been chasing this girl her whole career. It's a different scenario. But for Valentina, you can't even think about fighting Amanda Nunes right now, because you're going to have to go back and fight Talia Santos.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I think that maybe, and we've seen this, Paul, sometimes. I feel like sometimes when a really dominant champion is going into a fight and they really kind of start going in the media and looking ahead, we saw a lot of, I saw a lot of quotes from Valentina talking about wanting to fight the winner of Nunes and Pena before she ever even fought Talia Santos. And I think that could have come back to bite her in the butt a little bit. So I think Valentina should focus on her. I think Nunes should focus on Pena. We'll see where the cards lie when those fights get over.
We shall. Number 4, Rebecca says, I agree with Paul that Jiri will probably end Glover inside of 3 rounds. Well, we were wrong, Rebecca.
Woo, we were wrong.
I hope Joanna has learned new tricks. Whoever wins that strawweight fight is going to win the belt from Carla. If Valentina and Juliana win their respective fights, I'd like to see them fight again, unless Miesha Tate has a strong outing. Well, we talked a lot about all of this. So these are all good points, other than I was wrong. I mean, Jiri did win, but not anywhere near the way that I thought that he would be able to win that fight. And I thought that Joanna didn't necessarily have any new tricks, but she looked like herself, and she was just, again, it was just not her night. She was bested by a better fighter on the night. And whoever wins the strawweight fight is probably going to take the belt from Carla. Listen, I don't know. Carla always seems to surprise me as well in these big fights. So that we'll see. I don't think it's, I do think Zhang Weili has probably got a better shot at winning that belt, but we'll find out. What are your thoughts on some of this stuff, Michael?
Yeah, I really ate my words on the Jiri Prochazka fight. Tons of talent there. Excited to see what he does. And for Joanna, it was a great career. We kind of touched on a lot of these things, but it's I think that the best way for me to kind of give my quote on what we just read is the women's MMA is just booming right now. There's just so many fun fights to make in all the, all the weight classes are getting really interesting, particularly 115 through 135. Business is booming in women's mixed martial arts. A lot of big fights. And it's crazy to think, Paul, that there was once a time when there was no women in the UFC. Now they're headlining the card in Dallas, and it's just the evolution of women's mixed martial arts has been so fun to watch. And I just feel like, right now I feel like it's better than it's ever been. And when you look at all these fights and what's to come and what's already happened, it's cool to see the evolution of women in mixed martial arts competing at the highest level.
It's incredible. I mean, the skills are unbelievable. The speed is unbelievable. I mean, just look at that Valentina Santos fight. I mean, the spinning back fist from Weili. They're doing some amazing things. And like you said, I mean, we're headlining fights. We're looking forward, and we're talking a lot about. Look at how much we're talking about these big female fights in this show alone right now. But we got to move on to what Daryl says here. This is very important stuff and very serious. So I just want to bring this up. Definitely want some Round-Up merch. I agree, Daryl.
I agree.
And he says, when I eat my liver and cream cheese sandwich, where should I email proof for my merch? I would put it on Instagram and tag us is probably the best thing to do of your video of eating that disgusting sandwich.
Yeah, I think so too. And the merch thing, we got to get the merch going, man. This Round-Up, we're on year 2. We're gaining traction. We're gaining viewers. We're killing it over here. I think we should come up with some merch, especially with how much we talk about the sandwiches and almost kind of
make lunch boxes,
almost challenging the fans a little bit. This is we got a good thing going here. So Daryl, post the video, tag us. We're gonna get on the merch thing. We're getting the ball with some stuff over here.
Yeah,
we're getting better over here.
And lunch boxes.
Lunch boxes, absolutely. And triathletes
for the kids.
We need triathlete suits, and I need golf club covers. UFC Round-Up ones.
Yeah. Well, we can collaborate with the other company that I've been working with in trial, and On Your Left. Check out On Your Left on Instagram as well. I'll be working with those guys, and that was the sample kit that I was wearing this past weekend. On Your Left meets UFC Round-Up merch. Hilarity will ensue if these two
absolutely
companies.
And maybe we'll do the Great PNW / Rainier Beer collaborate with maybe we'll the fans know how much
Modelo wants us. We'll take it, Modelo. We're seeking sponsorship.
If Modelo don't want it, Rainier will pick us up, and you fans know how much I love my cold ones. So
let's go. You and me both. On that note, on a cold one, I'm probably gonna go have a cold one soon. I don't know. It's only 2:00, but I mean that's plenty anyway enough to have a cold one. So we will be back International Fight Week. Tune in, guys. Please comment, like us, hate us, whatever you want. Hashtag us, UFC Roundup. Send us your sandwiches. Go eat a liver and cream cheese sandwich. You might like it.